It's Friday, July 9. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is now a member of the Privy Council. In a statement to the public announcing the appointment, His Excellency the Governor-General Sir Patrick Allen says, quote, Her Majesty the Queen has been graciously pleased to approve the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, ONPC MP, Prime Minister of Jamaica, be appointed a member of Her Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council. The appointment became effective on May 26, 2021. The accepted form of address of the Prime Minister is now the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, ONPC MP Prime Minister. The Privy Council is the fifth and highest tier of the Jamaican court system. It may recommend confirmation or overturn or variation of the judgment of the Court of Appeal. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the report on the review of the National Housing Trust will be tabled for debate soon. The review is aimed at determining reforms deemed necessary for implementation at the agency regarding its mandate. Speaking at Wednesday's official unveiling of a multi-million-dollar redevelopment plan for the Bustamante Hospital for Children in Kingston, Mr. Holness said that reviewing the NHD's mandate should have been debated long ago. Melvin Pennant has that story.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says, while the agency is mandated to build houses, it also has an edict to develop communities, and this mandate has been stretched over the years to support other areas of engagement.
The NHD also has a mandate to build communities around these houses. And that other mandate of building communities around houses has been stretched. It was stretched to do education, to support the education transformation program. Some of you will remember that. $5 billion was taken from the NHD fund. I supported it, just to be clear, because I thought it was necessary, and it was used to start the first attempt at transformation of the education system. We have stretched it for security. We're building police stations to support communities. I recently benefited from my constituency rather, recently benefited from one such station being built, and several housing schemes which have been developed have had stations built around them or in proximity. We have used it to support the building of barracks for the JDF. And now we are stretching it again to support the building of a health facility. The
Bustamante Hospital redevelopment plan entails a new overnight parent suite, and Mr. Holness says the project is still within the NHD mandate. But the use of the funds in this sector is proof that there's a need for a review of the entity.
And we have reviewed the NHD. We do have a report. It really should have been debated long ago, but it is the kind of debate that requires the dedicated attention of the parliamentary agenda, and we're just trying to find that slot within the parliamentary agenda where we can debate that report. And I'm certain I've heard Julian speak on this matter before. I'm not seeing that there is much dissonance between the two political parties as to the reforms necessary for the NHD.
Mr. Holness says the report on the outcomes of the NHD review has been prepared and is to be debated in Parliament.
So we, in short order, should find the space within the parliamentary agenda to dedicate 2 or 3 sittings to such a debate. I want to, however, thank the NHD and its staff for seeing the need and finding a way to fulfill that need. But I'm just putting this in the atmosphere so that any other decisions that have to be taken regarding the expansion of the mandate, that it fits very closely with policy direction.
Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the development of the Bustamante Hospital for Children in Kingston is timely because it captures the recognition of the needs of children.
The approach has to be both preventative and curative, which is why, Prime Minister, we speak about a nutrition policy, which is why we address issues around sugary drink in schools, the physical activity program in schools. But beyond that, it is quite clear based on the evidence that we need also to expand our curative services.
The two-story facility to be built over the next 2 years will house a pediatric cardiac ward and overnight parent suite.
We will also be adding a diagnostic services block, the operating theater suite, accident and emergency building, and a specialist outpatient block.
The expansion is in addition to other state-of-the-art services offered at the Caribbean's one-of-a-kind children's hospital.
The Bustamante Hospital for Children represents the only specialist children hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean and is providing diagnostic, preventative, curative, and rehabilitative offerings. And the intention is to expand these services here in this multi-million-dollar phased redevelopment plan. And of course, we are trying to do a brand new adolescent and children hospital in Montego Bay, working with our Chinese partners, the Western Children and Adolescent Hospital, which has started. So that again represents significant expansion.
Dr. Tufton says the multi-million-dollar development, which is being done by the National Housing Trust, NHT, in partnership with the National Health Fund and the Southeast Regional Health Authority, is in keeping with the government's strategic plan for the country's health sector. In this week's extended edition of the Business Report, we join financially focused Denise Williams and Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Marlene Street Forrest, in a conversation on how to invest your way out of debt. We'll also get market updates and more from Gabriel Thompson.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 3,301 points to close at over 429,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 91 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 36 declined, and 15 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 9 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, and Caribbean Cream Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share. Honeybun Limited was the volume leader with over 3 million units, followed by Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares with over 1.3 million units, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 1.2 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, July 8, the US dollar sold for an average $153.61. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.08. The pound sterling traded for $210.43, and the euro sold for an average $182.68. In market data for oil, prices rose for a second day on Friday as data showed a draw in U.S. inventories, but were heading for a weekly loss amid uncertainty over global supplies after an OPEC Plus impasse. Brent crude futures rose 66 cents to $74.78 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude added 82 cents to settle at $73.76 a barrel. In this week's edition of Financially Focused with Denise Williams, we share snippets from a conversation with Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Marlene Street Forrest, on how to invest your way out of debt. When you're in debt, should you invest or keep your cash? Denise says debt shows your past decisions, while investing is about your future. Mrs. Street Forrest says the Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE, can help.
The stock exchange is all about helping you to plan for the future, because it is about investing in companies and investing in companies that you expect will provide you with a return on your investment. So just to make it simple, If the company does well, then you will get a dividend on your investment. If the companies do well also, the increase in that price, because now the price of those shares will go up, usually go up when a company does well, and then you also benefit from that. It is long term as companies. Companies are here for the future. And so investing in companies listed on the stock market is a good way in which to build your wealth, to get more money, to ensure that your future is secure.
The JSE executive also speaks to the discipline investing requires.
Okay, but the stock market is long term. But having said that, one of the things that we emphasize is that the stock market provides greater liquidity for persons who want their money now than many other forms of investment that give you a good yield. So, for example, when you invest in property, that tend to be stable and give you a good yield. But the point is, when you are ready for that money now, what do you do? Do you sell that house in order to cash out? Yes, and that takes time. Well, with the stock market, you could sell a part of your portfolio. Some shares now, the market is there readily available for buyers and sellers. Sellers who will naturally have buyers who are interested. So I want to put it in the context of long term and having your money now. But generally, what we encourage is that it is long term. The businesses are there for almost in perpetuity. So keep your investment, and then you can capitalize. You can actually sell when you are ready or buy more. So it is that fluid. So it is that great. There is a discipline to invest even though you have debt. You cannot invest what you don't have, naturally. So there must be some cash available for you to invest. But let us look at it properly. If you are paying your debt and you have some cash to invest, assess and analyze. Am I going to possibly try to pay down that debt faster, or I have the option of investing in the stock market or investing generally? Now, in the event that your interest rate on your debt is going to be higher than the amount that you're going to be getting from an investment, then common sense would tell you that the better thing to do is to pay down your debt. But more than likely, and the stock market shows this over the years, that over time, and then so time is going to be an important element, one, and the interest rate in determining whether you use that extra cash to invest in the market or not. And if it is that the yield or the rate of return on many of these securities or the ones you choose would be higher, then it would make sense that you take that cash and put into investment. And remember, now it is always fluid.
I found myself yesterday with a little tips, 2,000 Jamaican dollars, which was about like 16 US, and I invested. What's the point of that? It's just 2,000 or 16 US dollars. That's not big money.
And Denise, that is exactly, I'm glad you made mention of that example, because sometimes people say, well, invest in the stock market. You have to be a rich person, or you have to wait until you accumulate a certain amount of 50,000 or 100,000. And it's not so.
Yes.
Because you could buy just a few stocks. As a matter of fact, we have configured it now. You could buy one share. It wouldn't be worth your while because of the brokerage fee or so, but you still can buy a few. And then you gradually, and I want to talk about gradually, You know, so that is what you do. And then you tell your children also, look, that money that you would have used to buy the game, the video game, that probably you could have borrowed from a friend or so, put it gradually into the market, and you would be surprised to see the cumulative effect that it has.
Yes.
And then you're on your way to having that nest egg for that big thing that probably you want down the road. Yes.
That mindset. So I'm asking, you know, if you have any, you know, words of encouragement for persons to make space in their life for investing, so that at the end of the day they can see what they're gaining from the money they work so hard for. Because it's that life isn't to work and pay debt. You know, that's not life.
Denise, I'm gonna say this about one, I think it's one broker, and it always resonates with me. And it said one less. And that is how you make space many of the times. One less. If you can think of things that you can do, that you know, you don't really have to do it, it's a want as against a need, then that in itself is making space. Making space also is, and you talk about the credit card. If I can pay a little more than that minimum payment, it means that I'm not multiplying the amount of interest I'm paying. That amount eventually will provide you with some monies to invest in the market. And as we said, when we say some monies, doesn't have to be big. As a matter of fact, I encourage people to test the waters. The other thing is we can also make space by that part-time, you know, sometimes we might do a part-time job. We might do something that is very creative online or otherwise. Again, that is making space. So it is how making space can also be just how you manage that debt. As I say, do you make just the minimum payment, or can we do a little bit more so you make space? So these are some ways in which you make space in order to invest in the market. You get that extra, that little bit more. You know, it was a windfall, you did not expect it. Sometimes that happens to us. We get a little we did not expect, and immediately we think of what to buy. Instead, say to yourself, let me think about what to invest, because we did not expect that that amount of money. So these are some of the things that we can do.
For more information on the development of your financial future, head on over to financiallyfocusedmedia.com. And that's it for this extended edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
In regional news, Haiti's chief of police says 4 people suspected of being involved in the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse on Wednesday were killed by officers in a shootout, and 2 others have been arrested. He told the press on Wednesday that 3 police officers who had been held hostage were freed. Mr. Moïse's wife, Martine Moïse, who was also shot in the attack, is being treated at hospital in southern Florida. Prime Minister Claude Joseph has declared a state of emergency or state of siege, which allows for the banning of gatherings and the use of the military for police roles, along with other extensions of executive powers. In the wake of the shocking assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse, National Security Minister MARVIN has revealed that government officials in the Bahamas are not only keeping a close eye on the country's borders, but also public buildings. Jasmine Brown reports.
The National Security Minister addressed those concerns, insisting they are preparing for whatever may happen.
a very unfortunate situation, and I was briefed on it by the Commodore as well as the Commissioner of Police. Yeah, we will continue to do what we have to do to ensure that we protect our borders. Haiti, of course, is a neighbor, and so, I mean, we have a responsibility to monitor what's taking place.
The early morning assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse has rattled the region, with concerns mounting in the Bahamas over the possible ramifications of increased political instability in the already troubled neighboring country. Haiti's borders and its international airport were closed, and martial law was declared in the aftermath of the deadly attack. The Bahamas' borders have been closed to travelers from Haiti since earlier this year, with the government citing concerns over COVID-19 and the low level of vaccination in Haiti. As for a possible increase in migrants looking to leave Haiti in light of Wednesday's tragedy, Dame says they are assessing the risk.
We're doing just that, and rest assured that that we'll do whatever we have to do to ensure that our borders are protected.
The Bahamian embassy in Port-au-Prince was closed on Wednesday, according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Darren Henfield. The Office of the Prime Minister has also said the 4 Bahamian diplomats in the country are all safe. When it comes to the safety of public officers in the Bahamas, James said this.
We've had these discussions before, and we have created manuals and documents that speaks to just that. If you look at the new Ministry of National Security building, for example, you would see that that's one of those models that we intend to ensure that we take it at every ministry.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
There will be a drastic improvement in Trinidad and Tobago's water supply in the coming months as the Water and Sewage Authority begins to tap into over 300 available wells in the country. The assurance comes from Minister of Public Utilities MARVIN Gonzalez, who is adamant that fixing the water problem in this country is not a billion-dollar solution. Sunil Lala reports.
In the next few weeks, there will be an improvement in the water supply in Mayaro, and Public Utilities Minister MARVIN Gonzalez estimates that by this time next year, that problem will be no more.
So what we've already done is put 2 wells. We've already started putting 2 wells into operation. One came into operation, I think, a couple of days ago, and with the help of the regional cooperation, there's a very high producing well. It's producing somewhere about 500,000 gallons of water per day.
The minister says they also intend to rehabilitate water treatment plants in the area in the next few months, and will also be awarding a contract to develop at least 6 more wells in Mayaro by the end of the year, and notes that this will bring in an additional 2 million gallons of water. Mr. Gonzalez says this is all part of a national water stabilization program which will be rolled out in about 6 weeks, where WASA taps into localized wells in communities to serve that said area.
By fixing the Mayaro problem, you're going to fix the penal problem, you're going to fix the penal, the Siparia problem and the Princestown problem, because those are the areas that extract water from the Navet water treatment plant. And the fact that you don't have to get Navet water to come all the way down to Mayaro, more water will become available in Navet to improve the water supply in those surrounding communities.
Mr. Gonzalez admits this country needs another reservoir, but believes groundwater should be put to good use, which is cheaper, more reliable and less costly to treat. Meanwhile, Mayaro MP Rushton Parry says the water problem in the area has deteriorated considerably and is looking forward to an improvement in the near future.
So when you don't have water in 16 out of 28 communities on any given day, you can't imagine the impact it has on the economics of the constituency when restaurants have to close, hotels have to close because of no water.
Mr. Gonzalez assures that extracting a well is not difficult and says rehabilitation of the wells will be done in partnership with external contractors using WASA's internal resources. He adds that by simply rehabilitating the current wells, it can add 30 million gallons of water per day to the system. Sonolala, TTT News.
St. Lucia's immunization drive continues, with health officials appealing to people who have not taken the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine to do so. Authorities are also clearing the air on mounting concerns of vaccine expiration.
5 months since the introduction of the AstraZeneca vaccine to the St. Lucian population, and officials estimate that 17.1% of the population is partially vaccinated, while 12.2% are fully vaccinated. The hurdle of vaccine hesitancy remains an obstacle for health officials as they roll out new initiatives to combat public indecision.
We have also added one other component. Last week, a public-private partnership initiative was launched. The People's Discount Pharmacy has partnered with the Ministry of Health offering COVID-19 vaccines. This is the first of this kind in St. Lucia, where persons can access vaccines at their local pharmacy. We hope that we could extend this sort of service to other health providers in the near future, and that other pharmacies and other healthcare facilities.
Routine vaccine locations remain a staple in the arsenal of healthcare providers who are on a mission to attain population immunity. Immunization officer in the Ministry of Health, Tekla Jean-Baptiste, appeals to people who have taken the first dose and whose 10-week time frame has elapsed to visit the vaccine site nearest them.
But it has also been noted that we still have a significant amount of people, a significant proportion of persons, about 29% of persons who would have received their first dose, who have not taken their first dose of the vaccine, their second dose of the vaccine. In light of this, an appeal goes out to persons who have not taken their second dose of the vaccine to do so. Being partially vaccinated, of course, with one dose of the vaccine, will not afford the full protection that the vaccine affords.
Meanwhile, some quarters had raised concerns surrounding the shelf life of vaccines. The immunization officer clears the air on the hotly debated matter.
The spacing of the arrival of vaccine shipments to St. Lucia has allowed sufficient time for use of our stock before the next major shipment arrives in country. 2 of the previous batches of vaccines that we would have received had expiration dates of June 2021. As at the 30th of June 2021, there were no doses of vaccines from these batches left at our central stores.
The official reveals that the remaining stock of vaccines will expire in the next 2 months. She gave assurances of the Ministry of Health's vaccine management plan to avoid wastage. St. Lucia awaits the 3rd installment of vaccines from the COVAX facility. The shipment is reportedly delayed due to delivery logistics. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
On now to sports. We're on the pitch with cricket. The West Indies will be facing Australia in the first of 5 T20 international cricket matches starting today in St. Lucia at 6:30 p.m. Jamaica time. West Indies captain Kieran Pollard says the team has been putting in some work behind the scenes. This year's Summer Olympics in Japan, set to begin in the next 2 weeks, will be a largely TV-only event. This after the Japanese government put the capital under a COVID-19 state of emergency because of rising new infections and the highly contagious Delta variant. The declaration was made by the Prime Minister, and the spectator ban was agreed to by Japanese Olympic organizers, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, and the International Paralympic Committee, and the Metropolitan Government of Tokyo. Fans from abroad were banned months ago, and the new measures will mean no spectators at both indoor and outdoor venues. That's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.